They didn't steal money. They didn't leak code. They stole trust. And that single betrayal almost killed Uber from the inside. The same Uber millions of people open every morning. Almost burned to the ground because someone inside the company turned against its own CEO. Not a hacker, not a rival startup, a friend. And that moment, that one night, changed Silicon Valley forever. San Francisco, 2013. The city hums like a living machine, a rhythm of ambition, neon lights, and caffeine. From the top floors of Market Street, the skyline glows, glass towers reflecting the pulse of a world obsessed with the next big thing. Down below, self-driving dreams and rideshare wars are brewing, but at the heart of it all sits one man who seems untouchable. Inside Uber's headquarters, the air buzzes with restless energy. It's past midnight, yet the office is still alive. Screens flickering, keyboards clacking, the faint echo of footsteps on polished floors. Someone's ordering coffee again. Someone else is pitching a new feature on Slack. Growth charts hang like trophies on the walls, lines that only go up. And in the middle of it all, Travis Kalanick paces in his glass-walled office, barefoot, hoodie half-zipped. His phone won't stop buzzing. Messages from investors, city regulators, engineers from London, Paris, Tokyo. Everyone wants something. Everyone needs him. He's built a monster. A fast, furious, unstoppable machine that's changing how the world moves. Uber isn't just a company anymore. It's a revolution on wheels. Drivers in every city. People tapping a button and watching a car pull up like magic. Every investor wants in. Every competitor wants him gone. Every regulator wants him slowed down. And Travis loves it. The fight, the speed, the chaos. It fuels him. But tonight feels different. Something's off. He can't focus on his calls. His replies grow shorter. His tone sharper. The excitement that usually lights up his eyes is gone. Because there's one message he keeps coming back to, a simple text sitting at the top of his screen. An unknown number. No greeting. Just 6 words that slice through him like glass. Someone you trust is talking. He reads again. Then again. No emoji. No clue. No follow-up. For a man who built his empire on data, on tracking, mapping, predicting, this kind of silence feels unnatural. He stares at it. Phone still glowing in his hand, pulse thudding against his temple. He walks to the window. The bay glimmers below. City lights scattered across the water. Everything looks calm from up here. But inside that glass tower, tension curls around him like smoke. He tries to brush it off. Maybe it's a prank. Maybe it's nothing. But his instincts, the same instincts that made him a billionaire, tell him otherwise. He scrolls through his contacts. He thinks of faces, smiles, conversations, meetings. Who would talk? Who would dare? He shuts his phone, tosses it onto the desk, but his eyes keep drifting back. That single message feels heavier than any lawsuit, any scandal. Because Travis Kalanick knows one thing for sure. If someone close to him is talking, it's not just gossip. It's war. He doesn't reply. He doesn't even breathe for a moment. Because deep down, he already knows who it might be. They used to sit across from each other every morning. Travis with his messy notebook full of ideas. And Mark, calm, precise, always ready with answers. Mark wasn't just another executive. He wasn't one of those suits that floated in and out of the office, chasing stock options and photo ops. He was the guy, the one who stood beside Travis when things got messy, the one who believed in the mission, or at least that's what Travis thought. Mark had been there since the early chaos, when Uber was nothing but a scrappy start with a few cars and a crazy idea. Back when no one believed people would ever trust strangers to drive them around. He was the calm voice in the storm, the guy who always said, "We'll figure out." Travis trusted him more than most. When something broke, Mark stayed late. When the media attacked, Mark handled it. When investors doubted Travis's temper or his vision, it was Mark who said, "He's just intense because he cares." They'd worked side by side through city bans, lawsuits, protests, everything. Late nights filled with cold pizza, open laptops, and wild plans for global domination. The kind of bond that gets forged only through fire. But somewhere along the line, something cracked. It started quietly. No arguments. No drama. Just distance. Mark began showing up later to meetings. His tone changed. He stopped defending Travis as fiercely as before. Sometimes, when Travis pushed too hard, Mark would just go silent. And outside those glass walls, he started having lunches. Quiet ones. No Uber logo. No fanfare. Just 2 or 3 people at a corner table away from the cameras. People who weren't supposed to know the company's inside story. Investors, rivals, maybe even regulators. They'd ask how things were going, and Mark would shrug, sip his coffee, and say things like, Uber's getting too wild. Or worse, Travis can't control it anymore. Words like that travel fast in Silicon Valley. Faster than code updates. Faster than rumors. Because when someone from the inside starts whispering doubt, it spreads like fire through dry grass. Travis didn't know it yet, but those quiet lunches were the first cracks in the empire. They weren't just conversations. They were seeds of betrayal, planted slowly, carefully, behind his back. And the people listening, they weren't just curious. They were waiting for the right moment to make their move. The same man Travis once called his right hand was now the one quietly sharpening the knife. And at first, nobody believed the whispers. But the whispers kept coming. And one morning, Travis opened a news article that quoted an anonymous insider, someone describing his leadership, his decisions, his meetings, in words only a handful of people could have known. That was the moment he realized the leak wasn't from outside. It was coming from his own team. Uber was still winning, at least on paper. New cities were lighting up on the map every week. Cars with little glowing U signs ruled the streets from New York to Mumbai. The money kept pouring in, billions in funding, new investors lining up, journalists calling it the fastest growing company in history. To the outside world, Uber looked unstoppable. But inside, something was rotting. You could feel it the moment you stepped into the office. The air that once buzzed with adrenaline and wild ideas now felt heavy. The laughter was gone. Conversations got shorter. Every meeting felt colder, quieter, like everyone was performing instead of collaborating. People started watching what they said. Jokes were measured, words weighed. You could see it in their eyes, that flicker of fear, that hesitation before speaking up. It wasn't about the mission anymore, not about changing how the world moves, not about disrupting taxis or building the future. It was about power. Who had it? Who was losing it? And who might be next? Travis noticed everything. Even if he didn't say it out loud, he could sense loyalty fading, like air slowly leaking out of a tire. Every smile felt staged. Every compliment came with an edge. In public, he played the same role, the fearless founder, cracking jokes, talking about innovation, throwing parties after big launches. But behind that grin, behind the hoodie and the hype, something darker was brewing. He started digging, quietly, carefully, late nights in his office, staring at a screen long after everyone had gone home. He began tracing trails, emails, call logs, meeting notes, who met who, when, where. It wasn't paranoia anymore. It was strategy. He needed to know who was talking, who was feeding stories, who was bending the narrative. Every rumor that made it to press, every anonymous source quote about his temper or leadership. He tracked them like puzzle pieces. The more he dug, the clearer it became. Someone inside the company, someone close, was leaking. He could almost feel the blade in his back, but he didn't know who was holding it yet. And so Travis kept smiling in meetings, nodding at presentations, pretending everything was fine, while silently tracing every shadow that moved around him. Until one night, everything finally came to a head. The kind of night when the city outside feels too quiet, like it knows something's about to break. Travis was in his office again, lights low, blinds half drawn, the glow of a single monitor painting his face in cold blue. He'd been awake for hours, staring at a piece of evidence that confirmed what he'd been suspecting for weeks. And this time, there was no more guessing, no more wondering. He knew. He picked up his phone and sent a message. Come to my office. No assistants, no lawyers, No PR team listening behind the door, just the two of them. When Mark walked in, the silence hit first, the kind that wraps around you like static. He closed the door behind him, confused. Travis wasn't the type to do private one-on-ones like this without notice. Travis didn't stand up, didn't smile, didn't say a word. He just slid a single printed email across the table. The paper stopped right in front of Mark. No subject line, no explanation, just one thing that mattered. The name in the from field. Mark looked down at it for a long moment. His jaw tightened. His fingers twitched slightly, but he didn't reach for the paper. When he finally looked up, his eyes were tired, not scared, just resigned. "So this is how it ends," he said quietly. Travis didn't respond. He just stared, because when betrayal hits, words don't help. They don't fix what's already been cut. For a few seconds, the room was completely still, just a faint hum of the city outside and the low buzz of the air conditioner. Then Mark nodded slowly, like a man who knew the decision had already been made. He turned toward the door and walked out, his footsteps fading down the hallway. That was the last time Travis ever saw him. After that night, everything inside Uber changed. Mark's name disappeared from the org charts. His access was revoked before sunrise. By morning, his key card stopped working. The whisper started again, but no one dared say them out loud. It was like the company had quietly erased him, as if loyalty once broken couldn't be repaired. Travis didn't celebrate. He didn't even tell the team. He just ordered new security protocols, stricter controls, limited access, the digital version of building higher walls around an already paranoid empire. Uber kept moving forward, but the trust that once fueled it, that was gone. What remained was something colder, a company built not on vision or loyalty anymore, but on defense. Because once you've been betrayed by someone you'd have taken a bullet for, you stop leaving the door unlocked. But something inside Travis broke that night. Not the kind of break you can fix with a new deal or another round of funding. It was quieter, deeper, like a light inside him just dimmed. He used to believe loyalty was earned by building something great together. Long nights, shared vision, the thrill of beating impossible odds. But now, he wasn't sure about any of that. After Mark was gone, Travis started changing. Slowly at first, then all at once. He stopped trusting easily. The people who once sat close to him in meetings found themselves shut out. Conversations got shorter. Questions were met with silence or suspicion. Meetings that used to have 20 people now had 5. And those 5, he watched them closely. Secrets became policy. Everything that used to be open, financial strategy, future plans, got locked down behind NDAs and restricted folders. Every idea was protected like a weapon. Every whisper was monitored. Uber kept growing. In fact, it grew faster than ever. New markets, new investors, global dominance. The headlines still painted it as unstoppable. Uber takes over the world. But behind those headlines, the atmosphere was ice cold. The energy that once felt like rebellion now felt like fear. People didn't talk freely anymore. They calculated every sentence. You could feel the weight of unspoken things in every hallway. And outside Uber's walls, the shockwave spread across Silicon Valley. Founders started paying attention. They saw what happened to Travis, the leaks, the betrayal, the downfall that began from within, and they took notes. Board structures began to shift. CEOs rewrote their contracts. Some founders quietly stripped their co-founders of voting power. Lawyers got richer. NDAs got thicker. People started double-checking everything. Who's in the room? Who has access? Who's talking when you're not around? The culture of trust that once made Silicon Valley feel like a playground for dreamers began to harden into something else. Something colder, more cautious, more afraid. In private conversations, you'd hear it whispered at coffee shops and co-working spaces. If they can betray him, they can betray anyone. That was the moment the Valley shifted, from a place of visionaries to a battlefield of guarded alliances. And it all started because one man learned the hardest lesson in business. Betrayal doesn't come from your enemies. It comes from the people who once swore they were on your side. Because that's what this story is really about. Not just a company, not just an app that changed how we move from point A to point B. It's about something deeper, something human. It's about what happens when ambition grows faster than loyalty. When the dream gets so big that the people who build it together start seeing each other as threats instead of partners. Uber was never just about rides. It was about control, power, legacy. And in that kind of race, trust becomes the first thing to break. You can build empires on code and capital, but the moment you stop believing the people beside you, it all starts to crumble. Not from the outside, but from within. Because at the top, betrayal doesn't always look like someone stabbing you in the back. Sometimes it's quieter, a look, a whisper, a deal made without you in the room. And by the time you realize what's happening, it's already too late. That's the real story here. Not the funding rounds, not the headlines, not the billion-dollar valuation. It's the story of how fragile trust really is when ambition gets too big to hold. Because in the end, it's rarely your enemies who destroy you. It's the ones who helped you climb, the ones who smile with you at the top, while quietly loosening their grip on the ladder beneath your feet. If you've ever trusted someone and they turn around and cut you when you least expected it, hit that like button. If you've ever worked hard for something only to watch someone else twist the story, drop a comment below. I want to hear it. And if you think betrayal like this doesn't just happen in billion-dollar boardrooms, but in real life too, then you already know what to do. Don't miss out on the truth tech companies don't want you to know. Like, share, comment, and subscribe now for more shocking insights, tech secrets, and viral internet discoveries. Turn on notifications so you never miss a story that could change how you see the internet. Because the next story I'm about to tell will make you question who's really pulling the strings in Silicon Valley and maybe in your own world too.